What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Since all this Burkina Faso and O'Shea drama, one of the main questions I've heard is, and I've mentioned it, right, is why would anybody want to move to Burkina Faso while they're in the middle of a Cold War with France? Why would anybody want to go there, right, during this time, right? And that is a very fair question. Why would someone want to go somewhere that is highly undeveloped, that is dealing with Arab insurgents, that's dealing with all kinds of strife? Why would any rational human being want to go to a place like that? And my answer to that, to those who are not, maybe, you never joined the military, you're not as very worldly. My answer to that is that we African people have many warriors, and not all of them are members of the United States military. All right. And to be a warrior, you can be a warrior in many ways. And I mean warrior in its pure definition of what it is. Someone who's willing to fight and put their life on the line to participate in the upliftment of their group. Black, African. You see, Ibrahim Traoré is a Pan-African, right? He is not only uplifting his people, but uplifting other people in Mali and Niger. They are three collectively doing the same thing, while also trying to spread the Pan-African world around Africa and trying to defeat the ethno-nationalists, right? That's what's happening. So there are going to be some African Americans who are so Pan-African that they're willing to go to a place and not have the comforts and trappings of America, because the thing is, Americans are very comfortable here. We're comfortable with our concrete jungles. We're comfortable with our overly expensive internet. We're comfortable with what we got because it took 200 something plus years, millions of our African ancestors' lives, millions of our ancestors' freedoms throughout their entire existence, millions of Native Americans' lives to build it. That was the cost to build America. Oh, on top of that, millions of poor white Americans and poor white Europeans who were forced to be fodder for rich white men in suits, right? So everybody got it. And hundreds of thousands of Chinese, hundreds of thousands of Japanese, if not millions, if I'm incorrect. So it took a lot of blood, a lot of slavery, a lot of criminality to get to this comfort level. You understand? But it took people to do it. It took people to get in the mud. There are some black people who are willing to get in the mud for their continent. You see, we've been getting in the mud for white people this whole time. We've been getting in the mud in Europe. We saved Europe. We saved Europe twice. African Americans, African Caribbeans, and continental Africans participated in all those European wars they call world wars. And if it wasn't for us getting in the mud, they'd all be speaking German. We, black people, saved Europe because there's never been enough Europeans to save Europeans from other Europeans. Never. And when it comes to war, right, weapons of mass destruction, the superior equipment always wins the day, and superior tactics. The superior equipment and the superior weapon was black people, because we are physically superior, and especially when it comes to war, we are. And intellectually, when it comes to war tactics, we are. If you don't believe me, look at the fighting sport of boxing. Not only are we the best physical and boxers in the game, but we are also the best tacticians and minds in the game. Look at the greatest coaches in boxing history. They're black. Look at the greatest white boxers in history, and guess what they were trained by? A black person. That's the common denominator. The Klitschko brothers, huh? Those Ukrainians that had that nice run, and you look and see who trained them, what mind trained them in tactics and the art of boxing in the square circle. It was a black person. All right? We don't put enough respect on the combat mind of the black person. We don't just physically fight, we mentally fight. We're good at it once we're in our frame and we're in our zone. So you got to understand, we put ourselves in the mud for everybody else. So this one time, we have the opportunity to put ourselves in the mud for Africa. And there are people willing to do that. There are people willing to go to Burkina Faso, a country that speaks French, even though we are English-speaking people. But there are people who speak English there. Trust me. You can go anywhere around the world. You speak English, you're good. Trust me. You can get along. And with technology, you can get along. There's people willing to go to Burkina Faso to uplift the economy. You know, some people may not be rich, but they got ideas. They're rich in ideas. They're rich in capabilities. Some people are experts in management, right? And so when French takes revenge from not being able to steal from Africa and they start pulling out resources, that has to be backfilled with other resources, mental resources, physical resources, economic resources, right? Managerial resources, right? Financial resources. So just like there's going to be a whole bunch of rich people who you don't know that are black, that's going to take their money and they're going to participate in Burkina Faso and make sure that their economy stands up, that their economy connects to other economies so they can be fed the nutrients of Africa, be fed the nutrients of their own countries, right? And have that processed into something that they can use for their people. There are other things that need to be added that there are African Americans willing to go add. Their managerial skills, right? They may have the capability. They may be carpenters who want to go over there and create a school for carpentry, right? To make a solid foundation so they can start training a whole bunch of Burkina Faso citizens how to do that. Maybe there's some electricians that want to go over there and teach them the basics of electrician so they can just do that. Maybe there's some people who want to go over there and do some real estate, build some infrastructure so they can do that. So when you pull out the colonizer pulls out and he pulls out all of his institutions with him, right? So it's up to us to go in there and reestablish those things and connect those nodes to the African world. And it ain't just African Americans doing it. There are Africans on the continent in other countries that are also going to Burkina Faso, that are also going to the danger area. There are military security professionals, black military security professionals all over the world that have expertise that will go over there to help stand up private militaries that will help protect the country from these Arabs, from these Arab nomadic barbaric savages sponsored by the white barbarian Anglo-Saxon savages, right? Private militaries built by Africans. There are people who know how to gunsmith that will go over there and show how to 3D print weapons so the military and police forces can benefit from that technology. There are all manners of different reasons why a black person will go to Burkina Faso during the time of war. Because they want to be soldiers for their own people. They want to get in the mud for their own people. They want to fight for their own people. And I understand people who are ethno-nationalists, people who are, who are not aware of geopolitics, or people who don't feel like they have a stake in other black people because they're maybe over there. They speak another language. They're so far removed. I understand self-preservation. They feel like, why wouldn't you self-preserve yourself? Right? But there are people who think bigger than that. There are people who want to self-preserve black Africanness. They want to self-preserve the continent. And this is the moment in time at which an individual can go to Africa and make a change. Because we have fought so hard, all of us, Africans, continental Africans, Caribbean Africans, diaspora, we have fought so hard. Our ancestors have fought so goddamn hard for so goddamn long to get to this point to where we can now interconnect ourselves and start fighting the battles on behalf of our other brothers and sisters. The same way we fight battles for Europe and America. So if we're not going to question why people like myself and others join the military and go fight foreign wars that ain't got really shit to do with Africans, then you shouldn't question people who's willing to go to Africa in a dangerous zone and go fight on behalf of your own self. There's nothing better. There's nothing more honorable than for a black person to go fight on behalf of their own people. Whether they survive or not, there's nothing more honorable. That's worth living. That's worth living. That's worth waking up every day. Is to fight for your people. Whether you win or lose, dying on your shield for your people is worth living. That's a fulfilled life. At the end of your life, you will know for a fact that you made a change, that you did something that was worth something in your life. Y'all guys just don't understand what it feels like to be a warrior. It's a totally different thing, because to be a warrior is to live in the real world. Not to hide behind mindless entertainment. Not to go Friday to Friday, not to go from weekend to weekend entertaining yourself and then being a slave Monday through Friday. Trying to figure out how you're going to entertain yourself, how you're going to numb your mind, what you're going to drink, what you're going to smoke, what you're going to sniff to leave reality, because reality is just too tough for you. That's what most people do. And they live their lives. Football, basketball, right? What's the latest movie? What did that celebrity do? Let me live vicariously through this person. What am I going to smoke? What am I going to drink? Trying to leave this earth, trying to leave this reality because the reality you live in sucks because you're a slave and you know you're a slave. Even if you're a slave by another name, that's what you are. But there's some people that don't want to be slaves. There's some people that want to be attached to the slave system. There's some people willing to fight against massa. And it's always been few. Warriors are few. 1%. 1% in any general population. Very small, but that 1% can make all the change. Because the rest are sheep. They'll just sit there and deal with whatever's happening. So we need the warriors, the builders, the architects. We need those teachers to go to Burkina Faso under fire, or to the risk of their lives, to build up other black folks. That's how you connect the dots. You got to force that shit. You don't just sit there and everybody's waiting for mythological Jesus to come do everything for us. White people waiting for white Jesus. Black people waiting for black Jesus. Asian people waiting for Asian Jesus. Everybody's waiting for somebody else to come and do it. Everybody's waiting for the other person to do it because they don't want to do it. Because they don't have the testicular fortitude. But some people do have the testicular fortitude. And those who do have the testicular fortitude will go over there, go to undeveloped countries, and they will help develop, even if it's just a little bit. It ain't got to be big, just a little bit. It's like raindrops. Each raindrop counts towards moistening the earth. Each raindrop is just as important as the next. And at some point, a river will form. Then the lake. Then the ocean. You understand? Accumulation over time. Look at white folks. White folks are willing to do anything to maintain power. Anything. So we got to be willing to do anything to build power. Anything. We have to look at our enemies, our opposition, and see how they have such fortitude to just do the irrational shit that they do. And we got to remember that they are children. And they got that fortitude from us, and we have the original form of that fortitude. We need to use that fortitude to uplift and build us. Anytime Africa rises, the rest of the world will rise. That's the thing about it, because everybody's on our shoulders. There's always been on our shoulders. So everybody who are humans will benefit from the rising of Africa, because we don't have, as a group of people, we don't want to colonize the world in a violent way. We don't mind other cultures having their own thing. We celebrate them. We gaslight them to express themselves. And that's what the white man don't like. That's why we're the enemy number one, because we encourage people to express themselves, to fight truth to power. We encourage that. So, Burkina Faso, they have to be careful about allowing people to come in their country because they're at war. They have to vet those people that come in their country. They have to make sure the people that come in their country that look like them are on their side. Because remember, all skin folk ain't kin folk. And we know that now, don't we? It's always been that way. We can't sit back and act like we don't got a problem within our community. People who don't respect, honor, care, or value our community, and they look like us. Those are the snakes in the grass we have to eliminate, because some of them are very smart, very sneaky. They know how to get in there. They know how to lie to us at the beginning in order to get what they want at the end. And we have to elevate our intelligence, elevate our war tactics, tap into our warrior mindset, and make sure that we put a spotlight on those people to eliminate them, because they are in fact the enemy, and we need to treat them as such. Okay? But yeah, that's why people are going to Burkina Faso and other African countries that need to be developed, because if you don't go do it, it ain't gonna get done. If you Christian, faith with what they say, faith without work is dead, faith without action is dead. You can have all the faith in the world, but if you ain't gonna get your ass up and walk on that faith, then you ain't doing nothing but talking shit. And that's the truth. So, anyway, that's all I gotta say. Tell me what y'all think about this in the comment section. Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.